The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking about foster parenting and foster services. We have with us the Executive Program Director of Northern Rivers Family Services, Bill Marszalek, and we also have Jema Clements, who is a foster parent. So thanks for coming. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So why don't we start with Bill? The Northern Rivers Family Services, I'm saying that, but the name is actually a little bit longer. Could you just explain a little bit, because you work with Parsons and you work with the Northeast Parent, and you're sort of an umbrella organization in my sense. So just tell us a little bit about how you're structured, and then we can talk about the various programs you guys have and what it's like being a parent and everything else. So.
Well, Northern Rivers, really Northern Rivers Family of Services, really encompasses and oversees two separate agencies: Northeast Parent and Child Society and Parsons Children and Family Services, that have been around since.
Yes, most people I think know this place.
Late 1800s.
Yeah.
I think Parsons got its start even before that, into the mid 1800s. Northeast was the late 1800s, and there are two agencies that were created for the caring of children in the communities, and that's what they were there for. And they've been existing for all these years and have morphed and changed in many different ways. And when foster care came in, 70s, 80s, and foster care really started to become, a way of managing children, not in the old systems of the orphanages and all that, those types of things, but really giving children the opportunities to live in homes that have, when families have struggled and have needed the support of the local counties and they've had to be removed, placing them in foster homes. And both Northeast and Parsons have been running foster programs for many years and looking for foster homes to be able to support those children and let those children live in environments with families so they can develop and grow.
So you guys work with those two organizations?
Yes.
So how many kids, or I shouldn't say, how many children do you serve at the moment?
Currently, between both agencies, we serve roughly 250 children, covering from the northernmost counties, Warren, Washington, Clinton, all the way down to Broome. We have offices in Oneonta.
Well, it says here on your website, what do you have? You have 21 different offices around?
When you're talking the entire agency,
yes.
Okay. For foster care, we have about 7 different sites that we serve counties out of.
Okay, and then you serve mostly in eastern New York State,
Yes.
more or less. Okay,
Yes.
So I didn't know there was so many different kinds of foster care. I just thought it was become a parent, but you got a lot of different kinds here. So you have things called therapeutic foster care, specialized foster care, overnight respite services, hourly respite services. You have a thing called bridge families. So why don't you just talk about these different kinds of services and what sort of the difference is?
Well, the difference between the different levels of services is really just that it's the needs of the children at those levels. When children come into foster care, they come in 0 to 21 years of age. I mean, really, the reasons why children come into foster care are varied. There's lots of different things that can happen, and depending on what those needs are, children will have different levels of needs. So therapeutic foster care programming is programming where the children and the families will receive more intensive services, which means we'll be out at the home a lot more with the foster parents. We'll be working with the biological parents.
So these might be kids that have some difficulties.
They could have behavioral, developmental disabilities. It could be a lot of different things going on, that we're working. Then you have specialized foster care programming, which is those children who maybe don't have as many of those behaviors, and so it's a less intensive program. And then you look at the respite programs and the bridge family programs. Those are programs that are really designed much more towards when children don't need to be removed from home, but families need to have breaks, that they're living with their biological parents, if they can just have a little break from some of the intensity that's going on, they can come to a respite. And they can come into one of our foster homes for a respite for, say, 2, 3, 4 days, just to give the family a break, and then they go right back to their family on. A lot of these times, these will happen like Friday to Monday.
Okay, I see.
So those are types of things that will go on, because sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So are all 5 of these pretty much all, you have kids in all of them?
one of our.
Are they all used as much as
yes, used? Actually, one of the main reasons why we come out and talk about these things is we need foster homes.
Okay.
We
and
need
it
lots
can be
of
everything from permanent to
yes.
3 or 4 days.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We do, and Jema will talk a little bit. Jema does both for us. She's adopted children as well as she's caring for foster children. Okay. And we really need the ability, if you think about placing a child with a home it's not like buying a car. It's not, you have to have a good match, because not every child will match with every home. And being able to have lots of foster homes, so we know that, I've seen over all my years doing foster care, I've seen a child who struggled greatly in one foster home, just couldn't make it. We had to move them to another foster home. They did fantastic.
Okay, good.
So the match is because we're all different. We're all different. Our families run different. Our homes are different. We live in different school districts. And when you find that match that works really well for the children, it's a wonderful match.
Okay. So Jema, what kind, as a foster parent, we had these different kinds.
I am a therapeutic.
What kind are you? Okay.
I am a therapeutic foster parent. My first foster parent experience is very, very complicated, but it's fun. Basically, my children are a loose relation to me that I had never knew. I never knew my first 2 boys. My brother is married to a young lady who happens to be the twin sister of their father.
All right, hold on. Can you say that again, please?
My brother is married to a young lady who is the twin sister of their father.
Okay, I see. All right.
So she, about 3 years ago, she told me about her nephews. She had taken on one of their sisters, so she continues to live with her in a custody situation. But she had her nephews who were still in care. No one was able to take care of them. They had people who stepped up and just could not handle the degree of issues that my children have. So I said, I'll try. I'll explore, because I would hate to see my niece and nephew have some cousins out there.
Did you just do that on your own, or were your niece and nephew involved with your?
My sister-in-law's nephews were already in care, and they had been in care for a very long time.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So the situation was coming after a while of being in care, and Northern Rivers, Parsons, and Northeast Parent and Child working with the family. Sometimes it just doesn't gel for the kids for a return to home. So then other options have to be explored, and they have to find some place where the children can go and establish something called permanency. Meaning a long-standing permanent situation that's stable and helpful to the children. So at this point, because my sons had been in care for so long, they were looking for permanency. The parents, although they loved them, just were not able to establish a good home environment at that time where they could just go in and, you can't float for years and years and years.
Right.
So
how old are they?
My boys are now 8 and 9.
8 and okay.
Being a therapeutic foster parent, my boys came with a lot of issues. My eldest is autistic. He also has neutropenia, which is a white blood cell count naturally occurring deficiency. He has apraxia, which is mushy words. It's hard to understand, as well as ADHD and mental health issues that he had gone through. And when I first started with him, he was only 7. So up until that point, he had all these issues, as well as his brother. He had ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, and he has ADHD. And it was just very hard for, as well as just, not having stability for children and in development.
So did you, why did you take this on? It seems you have a lot.
Why did I take it on? Because I did not want to see them, because they would potentially be such a hard placement, because they have so many issues, I did not want to see them floating. Every child is important and every child deserves a chance. And the very least I felt like I could do is try.
Okay.
If it didn't work out, in the very least, we would potentially have some good times.
All right, so you still have the two down.
I have them. They're fully adopted.
You've adopted them?
I've adopted them. They are flourishing. They're doing sports. They're doing Cub Scouts. They are flourishing academically. They are overcoming almost every obstacle. We are still in counseling as a family to go through. And the upside of this is that I was able to establish a family relationship. They still see their biological relations. They see their brothers and sisters. They see their aunts, their uncles. They see their mother. They see their father. They see their grandparents. And it was not actually the father and the grandmother and relations came to the adoption.
Okay.
It was a very supportive experience.
Is that a common thing that sometimes the foster parents are sort of related? I mean,
It does. It's known as kinship foster care. I mean, that is, Jema hit on one thing was the permanency issue. What people don't know sometimes about, you see in the news, what happens when children they're placed into foster care. Well, one of the goals of foster care and why foster care exists really is to help children find permanency. These children that come in, and permanency can look like so many different things. Generally the goal is always to help children reunify with their families. That's the number one goal that generally is out there. And foster parents help us achieve that goal, because what foster parents do, which is what Jema does a lot of, is work with those families who struggled because things weren't going going well for them, and
then depending on the time, they may go back to their.
The hope is that they go back. I mean, the hope is not only do they go back, but the children go back to a stronger family, and whatever issues were there that were are resolved, and the children can stay with the families, and maybe they get more supportive services through prevention services, through other types of services.
So how often would your situation? How often would a foster parent end up adopting? Is that a common, or is that?
It's basically I don't mean to cut you. I'm so sorry. It's basically the last resort. Up until adoption becomes an adoption action, it's always return to parent or return to home.
So the goal is usually return to.
It's almost always return to the family
after being in the foster situation.
And what I'll say is that is always the goal. I would say on average, Northeast and Parsons do about 20 adoptions per year.
Okay.
And those are because situations came up that the children just couldn't be returned.
Okay.
And so what happens is, the first person you go to when that happens and the children are freed for adoption is you go to the foster parents. And I will say, vast majority of the time when that happens, you go to a foster parent, and the foster parent, first thing they'll say is, well, they aren't leaving my house. I'm going to adopt them, and then we do the process. So it's adopting through foster care. Is an option.
And that's basically what happened with the older two boys. I worked with the family as much as I possibly can, and they have interactions with their biological family as appropriate. Sometimes, with the emotional, the social, sometimes the physical thing. Just working through it to make sure that the children feel as comfortable as possible and feel as supported and stable. You have to work within the confines. I've been very lucky and blessed that both families that I've worked with now, and I say both families because I really did not know their family before my older two moved in, is that they're supportive. The father comes to games. He's there to talk to them occasionally. Gifts are given. My boys give out gifts to their brothers and sisters. They give Mother's Day gifts. They give Father's Day gifts. They still feel they don't feel like they lost anything. They feel that through adoption and through their time in foster care, they've gained more family.
So then, if that wasn't enough, your situation you just explained, you got involved with more than those two. Is that what happened? So tell me about this situation. You have a saint here, I think.
And that's the point of talking about foster parents. Is that I'm far from perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. When Navi and Shazi first moved in, I was just like, a parent with a newborn. They were at the doctor's every day. I was calling my foster caseworker and was like, oh, he fell. He has a black eye. Like, I was just so nervous. It's like, calm down. No matter how old the kids are, especially if you've never had children of your own before, you are newborn crisis at all times. But back to what you asked is that
You took on 2 more then?
yes,
Tell me about that.
I now have a almost 11-month-old and I have a 3-year-old. They are related.
They're related?
Yes,
Okay.
they're siblings.
And then is it the same situation? You worked with the Northern Rivers here and all that?
Yes,
Okay.
and I am still therapeutic. The older of the 2 came with a lot of developmental issues.
What made you want to take on 2 more?
Well, I talked to Navi and Shazi, and they said that they want to help other kids and open up their home to other foster children.
Really?
So I contacted my caseworker, and I said,
So it was kind of the sort of
a family decision.
But they wanted to.
They wanted to help. They wanted to make sure
Really?
that
It's
they
an
were
interesting
protected.
thing because that's one thing that when we talk about what does it take to become a foster parent, all the training that goes on, because it's not, you don't just get to call up and say, hey, I'd love to be a foster parent and I'm going to be a foster parent. There's a lot of time that goes into becoming a foster parent. There's training hours. There's meeting with, we have recruiters that work for us, at Northeast and Parsons, and their jobs are to meet the foster parents, train the foster parents. We come into the home, we do a whole home study, we learn all about you. So we talk about, when we're finding foster parents, it's a pretty involved process. So, it's not for everybody, but it's really, it's for people who really want to be that link to permanency for children. And there's a lot to it.
And that's where it comes in finding the right home, because my elder, the elder of the younger set, had been in a few foster homes previous, and he had not thrived. He had not found a good fit for him. My caseworker, when she brought the case after we decided as a family to open up our home and take on another foster child, she said, I think this will be a good fit for you. You're used to this type of these type of issues, and I think that with your older boys having gone through, they can take on a big brother role with him. And when he moved in, within 2 days, he was smiling and laughing and having a good time. He had a personality change. I do transport to his visits with his biological parents. I established a relationship with the biological parents. It's more of a co-parenting situation. I stay out of the legal issue, but as for what's best for the child and developing a strong, stable relationship and keeping that biological bond intact while also providing a home environment for the younger set. That's how it came about.
Sounds like you have a real family now.
And it's driving towards permanency. You go back to, one of the things that whenever people struggle in foster care, we say, if you always want to kind of fall back on something, think of permanency in your head. What are we trying to achieve for families? And no matter how difficult things may be on some days, within the foster care system, when you think, I think every one of us would go home at the end of the night and say, we're trying to help families find permanency. We want, for children especially, there's no question the research that exists out there is that when you see children who know where home is, they're going to do much better. And they know where they're heading. They can handle, a little bump in the road, every now and then, but you got to know where you're going and you got to know you're going to get there. And that's incredibly important. And the foster parents, when we look at what do we look for in foster parents, because that's really the more foster parents that we have in what we do, the more ability we have to make those really nice matches. Because not every foster parent can do what Jema's doing, to be able to take in, adopt two, take two. And we have parents with more children.
More than 4?
We have families who have taken in 5 children, siblings, because sometimes that's what happens, and they've adopted those children. And then how do you find those? That's what we try to do as an agency, is trying to find those families.
Okay, well, before we talk about how you get foster parents and how people can become involved, let me just ask Jema, for anyone watching, what is it like working with Northern Rivers here as a foster parent?
It has been very it's been very supportive. Like I said, when I first started, I was like a newborn crisis type of parent with older children, and then helping me, supporting me through the process. There were times where I absolutely did not think I could work with the family. I to be completely honest, it's like I don't understand and stuff like that. And there's also natural fear and apprehension of what you don't know. Sometimes you don't get a lot of information about what happened to the children or why they were removed and stuff like that, so you don't know what you're walking into. It just becomes you can get very nervous and very fearful.
But they're very very supportive of what you're trying to.
But the caseworkers, the training, even the MAP class, which is the initial training class, it's a 10-week class, usually 10 to 12 week. It walks you through what to expect, what happens, what can you do, and also walks you through something called self-care. What can you do for yourself when you're feeling out of sorts, or when you don't understand, or where you don't know, which is very, very good. It's the training, the support, the caseworkers all help to make everything make sense in something that potentially at times does not make sense. Sure. You're as a foster parent, sometimes you're a parent, you're a worker, you're handling your own personal life as an employee or employer somewhere, and it all comes together, and sometimes it can become overwhelming. But with a strong support system like Parsons, Northeast, Northern Rivers, helping you work through psychiatric problems, counseling, developmental issues and stuff like that. And sometimes they even, hey, I can't do it today. Could you please help me with the transport to the different the different appointments, because it does tend to be a lot of appointments. They will step in and do that too. Right. And I have an awesome caseworker, and she is also just, Jema, take a breath. Like, she's snap me back into reality. Like, breathe. You'll be okay.
All right. So then, Bill, why don't you talk about, I guess, how you recruit people, what kind of training they have to go through, and some of the steps, how people can get involved. I should say, it'll be on the screen here. It's northernrivers.org. There's all kinds of information about. But talk to me.
To find information out about becoming a foster parent, Give Hope a Home. Is a campaign that we're currently involved in, of trying of finding foster homes. And why Give Hope a Home? It was something that we had lots of discussions on when we were talking about bringing these two agencies together, because at its beginnings, these two agencies worked independently of one another.
They were doing the same thing.
We were competitors of one another. Yeah. They were both doing the same work in the same places, and when we came together through Northern Rivers, one of the first things we started to look at was, why are we doing all this advertising? Like, in the same paper, you'd see, an ad for one agency and an ad for another agency right next to each other, but you know what? We're working together. So we had a lot of meetings and discussions about, how do we want to go about developing a new campaign? I've worked in foster care for many years, and we've done all the standard ads, looking for foster homes, like in your local newspapers, your penny savers, doing all those types of things, and we find foster homes and we do that, that way. But the reality is, the need is so great, and one of the reasons why the need is so great is that the more foster homes we have, the better we can match children with homes that can kind of really meet their needs.
I think the problem with people becoming foster parents, one of them is the fear and apprehension of what the foster care is and actually taking on kids. Being a foster parent, there's something called supports that you have. People who are in your life who are clear to take the kids out and interact with them. I worked a shift that I needed a babysitter and stuff, so I had supports cleared. And as my supports are cleared and they interacted with the kids, they've now contacted to become at least respite foster parents. They realize fear holds us back from a lot, and once you get involved with it and you see it and realize that, like, hey, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of people there to help you through it. You're not there by yourself. They just don't drop kids off. They're there to make sure that it's a good fit for you and for the children, and that you're as supported as the children are. The people who are in my life have said, okay, I'm ready. I can if I can do this, I can do that. If I can do this, I can do 2 more steps. So I have actually 3 people who are now anticipating the next math class to become foster parents in some form.
All right. And what kind of training do people have to?
Well, what we
Jenna
do-
said it was like 10 or 12 weeks.
It's a 10-week training, 30 hours. It's called MAP, Mutual Approach to Partnerships and Parenting. And what that is, it's a national program that was designed, to train foster parents. And really, it's meant to kind of walk you through the experience of being a foster parent.
Okay.
Because we talked a little bit about the certification process, that there is a lot that goes into a certification process, because we want parents to be prepared, for what they're going to experience.
Foster parents actually get certified, kind
Yes.
of? All right.
Yes, what we do is, we certify them, and then, the OCFS is, oversees us, the Office for Children and Family Services. So we certify foster parents, to take in children and certain numbers of children, and your home has to be approved. There's a lot that goes into it. Like I said, you don't just get to call up and say, hey, I want to be a foster parent, because we want to make sure we're doing all those things.
Well, it sounds like from what we said at the beginning, you can do everything from a couple days to permanent.
Because what we want to talk about grow people through fostering. Because I think when I had my two children, I got to take them home from the hospital as little babies. I grew with my children as my children grew, because I wasn't prepared to handle a teenager when I first brought, because, and that's what happens in foster care. You get that call and you take those two children in, and if you
They could be 17 or something.
you don't know.
Or
I mean, you
they-
have the ability to say, like, age ranges and things like that.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of that stuff that goes into it. But we want parents to grow through it.
But
We don't.
parents can choose perhaps an age range. Or
They could choose the age range, or they could choose, I potentially want to become a permanent foster parent, but right now I want to do respite, which means basically that the child already has a placement with the biological family or with another foster family, so that you're just basically taking them for a short stint and see how it goes. They can start that way and then grow. Like, okay, I've done respite for a while. I'm comfortable with it. I see how the system, how it is. I feel my supports. I feel supported. I feel good. Now I'm ready to hit the big time. And then as you become a foster parent, you can say,
Because we want people to
adopt.
work their way through that anxiety, because it does prevent a lot of families from saying, "Geez, I don't know if I could do dropping kids off my house." Whereas you don't have to do that. So you can start out saying, "Hey, I just want to be a respite resource for families," because people like Jema, they need that respite resource, because sometimes you need a break.
So how can people get in touch? Just on the website on northernrivers.org? They can start there.
We will have on Give Hope a Home,
Is that-
.org.
Oh, okay, givehopeahome.org. Okay.
Yep, that's a website that you can go to, and you'll have the phone numbers that you can
Okay, people can start
contact,
there. All right.
which will get you into an 800 number that will kind of, wherever you are, you call that number, and they'll be able to guide you in the right direction of
Okay.
which office can best serve you. And then a recruiter in your area will give you a call, talk with you a little bit. And you're not committing to anything. You just want to have a conversation with somebody to learn about foster care. One of the reasons why we're here today is to help people learn about what foster care is really all about. What are we striving for? What are our goals? What types of families? And really, having the conversation is really the best place to start.
Okay.
And we don't want people to saying, "Geez, I don't know, I'm too scared about that." Well, give us a call.
Well, you couldn't have brought a better example here than Jim.
I would just like to say that becoming a foster parent, and when my sister-in-law told me about it and making the phone call, and I heard more about it, I realized that it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But I do not regret a second of it. I'm about to tear up just thinking about it. Like, I do not regret a moment of it.
All right.
It's been one of the best things in my life, and my older two adopted boys have come so far academically. They're now, Navi he was declassified in a year from special education. He is now at the top of his class. He's an AB student. He made honor roll twice. He is 5 points ahead of the Albany City School District on reading and math assessments. Shazir had one of the biggest jumps in special education this year. He jumped over 215 points in STAR literacy in math and reading separately. They're awesome kids.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job, and it sounds like your organization, Northern Rivers, is doing a great job. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It'll be on the screen. It's northernrivers.org, and I'll give Hope a home. That'll be on the screen too.
And we say that because what we ask parents to do is we believe that every child, when they have hope, things are going to turn out better, and we want to find families who can give that hope.
All right, very good. We need more hope in this world, I think. Well, thanks for being here, and we will see you next time on Getting to Know You.